Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome everybody to the May 14th, 2015 Audit Committee meeting. We have the committee present here. I'd like to open up the machine for roll call. Yeah. Are we on target today? Let the record reflect we have all three committee members present. Before we start, I'd like to have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Juneau, if you could lead us in that, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, thank everybody for coming to the second Audit Committee meeting for 2015. Before we get into the agenda, it's kind of loud, I'd like to take up an item that's not on the agenda today, and I would like to seek a suspension of the rules. Are there any objections for a suspension of the rules? No objection. I'd like to open up the machine for suspension of the rules. And the suspension is granted 3-0. Ms. Barber.
A resolution to set forth the policies, practices, and duties of the Internal Audit Department and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I will offer and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. What this does, the Audit Committee is the executive head of the Internal Audit Department. Therefore, it's the Audit Committee's job and duties to set forth some policy and procedures for the department. So what this resolution does, it sets those practices as outlined in prior legislation to those duties and responsibilities. So I'd like to take up this offer today and bring it to a vote. That way we have some guidelines and procedures that are set in place to set the department moving forward. So with that, I'd like to offer, and machine is open. Let the record reflect the resolution passed 3-0. Thank you, guys. Next, we'd like to move to item number 2, an update and presentation by our Internal Auditor, Ms. Lakeisha Daisy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. What we have today is we've created an audit plan going forward. So we have some guidelines set forward. I've established the ongoing audits that we have. From 2014, we have 2 that's still left that we're still working on. That would be the employment retirement program for both the PPG employee and Total Community Action employees. This year, the audits that we're focusing on will be the manpower reports, which are done monthly. We have the cash disbursements reports that are done monthly. Sales tax, which will be done annually. Our bank reconciliation of cash annually. Our insurance, payroll, travel and expenses, oil and gas royalties, the ferry department, and property insurance. And then the other projects that we have scheduled is, as Mr. Byrd said, the guidelines and standards for the Internal Audit Department. We're going to go forward and implement some more policies and procedures as far as it relates inside the department for myself and my current employee. And we're going to do an update to the travel, mileage, and expense ordinance. As it relates to the travel, mileage, and expense ordinance, we recently had a review of one of the, during our approval of those process, we detected one fraudulent expense report. That was reported to the department. They notified us of the situation. The employee is no longer here. So we just wanted to report that to the audit committee to let you all know that we do thoroughly check these reports for any discrepancies or any errors or anything that's missing. So that is the latest update that we have on the travel, mileage, and expense. We have some reports completed for this year. We have the 2014 5,000 and above cash report. We have 2015, but going forward for this is 2014, I'm sorry. But for 2015, I've decided to modify the report. So instead of doing 5,000 and above, we're doing 500 and above. And the reason being is I think that it gives a true reflection of the cash disbursements as it pertains to the vendors. So we've modified that report to include more data. So going forward for the year 2015, each month, it will be reported from 500 and above. And I believe that's all I have so far that's going on. Oh, and I'm sorry, we do have the 2014 mileage, travel, and expense report completed as well. Mr. Burt?
So just for some clarification,
Sure.
some of the audits that are listed here are, some of these were actually the prior auditor's auditing plan. So what we did was basically draft pretty much the similar items and tweak them somewhat.
Yes.
And we also met with finance to get their input and some of the things they would like to see audited for their annual audit. So, just for the record, this is not something that we put together on our own. We did have input from the administration, finance, as well as the audits that were done prior to this council and this audit committee coming on board.
Yes.
So just want everybody to know that. Just going back to the resolution that we just passed, we did have some, some language in there that kind of sets the duties as to what can take place in the internal audit department. We've been working with Ms. Lakeisha to put those policies and procedures together, and we ask for everybody's support on that as we move forward. And I think now that we've got some structure in place, we've got some guidelines in place that we can hopefully meet at least monthly to provide the public an update as to what's going on financially in the parish. So we thank you for putting this documents together. Is there anything from the table that you guys want to address specifically as it relates to audits? No one? Okay.
No, that's all I have as far as on the updates of the audits. We can move to new business if we have any. I don't have anything for new business.
I'll open up the floor. Yes, ma'am.
In regards to the audit committee and the resolution that you guys just put forth, I appreciate it, I applaud it, and but I think it just put a little more teeth into what the charter already says, but I think it's all about enforcement. In my opinion, the charter is clear. The charter is clear. I think it comes back down to, it all boils down to enforcement. If you guys as a department audit head, that's the executive head of the auditor, of the internal auditor's office, if you exercise your authority, I don't think any of these additional legislations is necessary, but I do support it because I understand the circumstances that surrounds all of the ills that's going on. But I still want to put focus on enforcement. The legal team, and in my opinion, I think the legal team is like 5 months behind the time. I think they would have went very well with the previous administration, but this is a new day. This is a new day, and I just want to encourage you guys as the audit committee to stand up and and support and carry out the authority that has been vested into you. And along with that, I have a few questions to the auditor in regards to these expenditures.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at, I'm not sure what page it is, but there's streets.
Are you looking for 2014?
Yeah, March of 14, there's three insertions regarding Jeffrey and Gail Fisher. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I need some explanation on that, and just if somebody can bring me up to date with those expenditures were. I noticed that they were approved by Benny Puckett, Janice Acosta, Mario Ortego, and Billy Nungesser. Can somebody bring me up to date with that? Because I think some legislation came across my desk and it was grant money, the HMGP money. I just want to know.
You said Jeffrey and Fisher?
Yes. Let me see what page this is.
What page is that, Ms. Audrey?
Fisher. It's a funny spelling of Fisher.
F-I-T-Z-E-E-R.
It's on page 9.
Yeah, I found it.
Page 9. They're
we
not
checking
listed
on
as
that.
9.
We checked on that also. Benny and I saw it the other day. Okay, what are you doing? Okay.
I don't have an answer for it, but I'll definitely check. Mr. Juneau had just mentioned too that this could be in relation to the elevation grants that was issued by the grants department.
Okay.
But we'll definitely look into it. Mr.
Okay,
Hazy.
I would like a report back to the at least a report given to the council of these expenditures.
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah, the whole intent of this report is to bring forth expenditures, these are 5,000 and above, but going forward, 500 and above, and if there's questions that you've just, raised, we can definitely look into it. And that's the whole purpose of the checks over 5,000 report.
Okay, and one other thing.
Ms. Audrey, this has to be checked because it was for the raise of a house, for the building of a house, and for someone staying away from the house being paid. So we're going to investigate this. It's going to be under investigation.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Juneau. And just, I would like to refer your attention back to the very first page of Ms. Daisy's report, where it refers to the total community action employees retirement benefit. I, too, was a previous employee of Community Action Agency, and I addressed the previous council and let them, and it was told to them that there were other employees that would be affected under the same type of situation. They wasn't thoroughly compensated, just as these three individuals was, and I am one, and I think there's a couple of more. I know for a fact there are others, and it was brought to the previous legal team, and I think they just dropped the ball and ignored any of the requests. So I would like you guys to look, maybe Ms. Lakeisha, to look further into that and see how and what other employees that this affect.
Right, and the reason why it's separated is because during the investigation, there was one employee that was just a regular employee of Plaquemines Parish Civil Service Department, and the other employees that were affected were under total community action. So the circumstances, in my opinion, were different. And so I advised the legal team that we address these differently, that we would handle one. I've spoken with the employees of the total community action to inform them that they have not been forgotten, but I would prefer that we resolve the first issue before addressing the second issue.
But you are aware that there are others?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Ms. Audrey, too, the audit committee is also aware. We've had meetings on this in the last few weeks, so it's definitely an item on the agenda that we're looking into.
Good. And I just want to commend you guys, the audit committee, for doing such a good job and a thorough job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Barry Colligan, 31975 Highway 23 in Buras. My question is today that in regards to the Attorney General opinion that was given to y'all at another council meeting in regards to the audit committee and the duties of the internal auditor, will what you are presenting now dilute or enhance what is already said in the Attorney General's opinion?
I don't know what document you're looking at, but if you're talking about who is the executive head of the Internal Audit Department,
Yes, sir.
that's in the charter. So we're not modifying the charter by no means. All we're doing is setting forth some duties and policies
For the
Internal Auditor Department. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah,
would you like this
absolutely,
copy?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, Warren Lawrence, 120 Timber Canal Lane, Myrtle Grove. What I'm questioning is, we come to this meeting here, and I understand there's a resolution or something, and from the public standpoint, I mean, you want to comment on something that we've never seen. I don't know what are you even talking about? You know, that you're going to make a resolution changing the authority and stuff like that, and we'd like to make comment on it. I'm sure it's going in the right direction, but it's hard for the public to make comment if we don't even know what are you talking about. I don't know if there's an explanation on what are you planning to do, what has changed from the original, as an explanation.
Yeah, I'll address that. Well, first of all, the Audit Committee is the executive head of the Internal Audit Department. The prior legislation that was adopted by the council, which in my eyes is null and void. So all we're doing is taking the ordinance that was previously created by the council, and we adopted it under the Audit Committee to make it an official document for the rules and regulations of the Internal Audit Department. And I can go into detail what those items are, but basically we've just set some guidelines as to some of the auditing practices, some of the things that we can and can't audit, and how the reporting mechanism works as far as the internal auditor. By no means are we changing the charter, what its intention is. We're just trying to establish some guidelines moving forward, and I can share a copy of this with you. I have some extra copies on how we can make this internal audit department a better and more functional department, and given the finance department, council, and administration the tools that they need.
Mr. Byrd, if I could add to your comment, basically what that ordinance does is the last ordinance that we had in place also kind of limited my abilities to perform certain audits. So this audit committee got together and expanded that role. So they kind of defined more things that I guess the new administration questioned as far as the things that I can audit. So they expanded and defined and gave them more of a definition as to what my roles will be.
Yeah, the big difference here compared to the last legislation, we inserted conduct special audits at the request of the audit committee, individual parish council members, or at the request of the administration with audit committee approval. And direct special audits that are related to all financial or budget-related matters to parish governments or its political subdivision. That sentence was not in the prior legislation. So what we're saying is, yeah, we can go out and do audits that are not particularly on this work plan, because things will come up, and we don't want this department to be limited as to what we can and can't do. So basically, that's what this legislation does, is reinforces, and we added in a sentence to allow special audits.
And we took out the word limited by law.
And added allowed.
Yes.
As allowed.
As allowed.
And the one question I would have on there, and just what you just read, was, everything is approved by the audit committee, whether it came from a councilman. What it didn't include in there was the word public. That would be approved by y'all. If there's a request for a audit by the public, in the new resolution, the word public is not inserted in there. If what you read, I'm understanding, and that's where I feel like the public is left out. In other words, if we see something in the operation of government and bring forth something and ask for a audit to be taken on it, which I'd like to bring up something, and that goes to you, and you have to approve to give her authorization to do that audit. You know, when looking at a lot of things going on, especially with this rate increase, there's a lot of things that should be audited. Now, whether it's they have the capability or authority to actually audit these things is another question. That's why I'm lost at, you know, whether is the public allowed to bring the audit forward, not in what you just read?
Yes. Technically, that would go to the Internal Audit Department, and the Internal Audit Department would make recommendations to us. So, yeah, I would definitely encourage that, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because the way you read it, I thought it was only that limited.
No.
No.
Okay.
The way it works right now, and what's been happening most of the time, even in parish government, the complaints or the requests are going to the Internal Audit Department automatically. They're not coming to us. So yes, if you have a complaint that goes to the Internal Audit Department, she is going to bring that to our attention.
Okay.
That's the process we have in place right now.
And that wasn't the process previously?
I can't comment on the past process, but I appreciate your comments.
Michelle Wilcox, 112 Hunt Street. The past, we went to audit meetings together, and I think what he's talking about is we would ask the other auditor if we could get some financial, just some clarification on some things that they would bring forth, and his answer was always, well, I have to check with so-and-so. My question was, are the financial computers set up where she is given full access to go in and audit something? Because I think that one of the problems is, and I know this from her starting her job, the very first meeting I was at, and there was, you know, some council people that were concerned about some auditing situations with the levy and that stuff. And I had more information from these meetings. There was transparency resolutions, ordinances that I gave Miss Daisy to go on because she had nothing. And when she looked, there was nothing. So, again, I don't care to see them, but I think that we have someone in there now that has integrity for her job. I think we have a council that is really trying to do transparency. I know there's some roadblocks. I know there's some bumps. However, I think that everybody's headed in the right direction, and I think that she's given no reason, given that the public's had to supply her with half of what she's already had, and that's part of it. And I know y'all know that. It's frustration. Right. So in that transparency, will there be access to, does she have to go through certain individuals, or is she going to have access to the financial records so that she can do her job without being interrupted or without, because really her job is that to answer to anybody except to you all on the audits. But if you have somebody in the office that knows she's doing it and they have a problem with it, then they take it out on her. And that's not quite the way that it is supposed to work. And y'all are aware of that. So, I mean, kudos to y'all. I know you're trying. And kudos to her because she wants the same thing. And anything that we've ever had, we've given her. So, you know, I don't know how much more the public can help, but I agree with Mr. Lawrence, you know, if there's an issue, and we don't have a problem coming to the audit committee and saying, hey, Charlie, this is what we would like to see done, and you present it, if that's going to take out a whole different, you know, era, whatever it is. But again, so is that transparency going to be equally shared from the financial department in cooperation with you all?
Yep.
So that's it.
I believe Ms. Daisy does have access to certain financial drives or whatever the terminology is nowadays. Whether she has them for all, probably not, and that's a discussion we probably need to have. But we do have a policy in place that, you know, we will, if we need documents, go to those departments, give ample notice, courtesy notice, and, you know, I would say in the last probably week or two, those requests have been better, so to speak, but I don't have an answer if she has complete access. If I had to guess, probably not, just because of security reasons, but that's not to say she doesn't need those, need access.
Say something. We, as an audit committee, we are trying to do the right thing. I think Ms. Daisy, when she was brought here with the last administration, she was in a pickle. This is how I feel. and she's slowly coming out of it. We working together. We trying to cooperate as much as possible with Ms. Daisy. And as an audit committee, we're trying to do the right thing. Now, I don't know if the last audit committees had meetings like we haven't. I don't think they did. But we're trying to do the right thing. If you give us a little time, we'll try to have everything in order. It's taken us a while, but we will get it. But we can't do everything. Things have got to go in order. You got to take priorities, and this is what we're trying. So we appreciate all your comments. Thank you.
Correct, and I reiterate that as well. I think if Ms. Daisy is given the tools to do her job, she will be very proficient and very effective, because she has a great deal of knowledge and she knows how to carry out her job duties if she's provided the information that she needs. And that is our job as the audit committee, to ensure that she does receive that. And we thank y'all for all that y'all do to try to help our jobs and make our jobs easier.
I thank y'all for those comments, and I think everybody else in this audience would say the same. My question is in regards to the special investigations and who would be able to introduce that or ask for that specification. Is it my opinion that the administration could, the legal department could, or just the council members could?
So the question is, if there is something brought to the internal auditor that is, whether it be fraud,
The audit committee.
that, I guess we would have to determine as a group where we should handle that, whether it's through an outside agency, or do we try to handle that internally?
And that was going to be my next question. I mean, would that special investigation supersede Ms. Daisy?
At some point, it probably could. If it's something that she has no control over or has no authority to investigate, we would probably turn that over to an outside agency. Absolutely.
Would that be your decision or the legal department's
I think that would
decision
probably
or
be at
council?
the choice of the audit committee.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I would just like to add to Mr. Callaghan's comments is that appreciate everything has been said thus far, but the story that I'm hearing and the bits and pieces that I'm hearing of all of the experiences that have been circulating around the internal auditor's office was appalling to me. And I don't think anyone had to endure what this young lady had to endure in the last couple of months. And I'm entrusting that you as colleagues and as head of the internal auditor will, and I'm not saying that you guys didn't do your job. By no means, I'm not trying to imply that. But I think it needs to be, from this point forward, the legal team and whomever, they need to get the message that it's hands off when it comes to that internal auditor. You are the executive head. Thank you.
Ms. Audrey, if I can add a comment, I would like to say I do think this audit committee, I will be honest and say that yes, we've had a lot of backlash from our legal department, but as I brought forth the issues to this committee, I know that part of what this ordinance has done, they're trying to kind of combat some of the issues that I have been having. So I will say, you know, I thank these guys because they have given me, and they're trying to give me the support that I need. They're actually seeing and actually going through some of the things that I'm going through, and trying to either get information or dealing with departments. They're getting the same backlash that I'm getting. So they are experiencing some of the same things that I'm experiencing. And you're correct. A lot of this has taken place in the last few months, or since this new year has come in, or this new administration has come in. I think the legal team has a lot more involvement in what is going on than the previous administration, but this audit committee, I can say they are trying to address those issues. So I thank them for their support.
Is there any other business to come before this committee? All right, with that, we'll move to item number 5. We'll get a motion to approve the minutes for the February 26, 15.
If I could add one other thing.
Yes.
Under new business, I'm sorry, I would like to say thank you to the Director of Operations for finding some funding to add another position that we're getting ready to add to the department. So slowly we're getting to staff this department as well. So shortly I should have well, soon, not shortly, but soon I should have another member of the internal audit department. So I want to thank Mr. Wallace for finding those funds and transferring those to my department.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. Approve the minutes.
Mr. Juden.
I'll second.
Will second. Machine is open for the approval of the minutes. There we go. Minutes are approved 3-0. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got a second. Machine is open for adjournment. Oh, one more time. And we adjourn. Thank you.